Thank you for sticking and staying with us. Up next, the news. And in our first story, the NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman, Entwi Buesiako, also known as Chairman Wontumi, has finally been released after spending 7 days in the custody of Iyoko in a dramatic week marked by legal twists, protests, and political tension. But while he's now free to go home, this may only be the beginning of a long legal battle. This report traces the journey from his arrest to his eventual release.
On Tuesday, Chairman Wontumi was picked up by Iyoko personnel, the second legal hurdle in just 1 week after enduring a grueling interrogation by the CID. But barely 12 hours into Iyoko's custody, he reportedly fell ill.
My client has been taken to hospital for medical treatment.
That didn't soften Iyoko's stance. They pressed on with investigations into serious allegations, including fraud, money laundering, and causing financial loss to the state. Soon after, Wontumi was slapped with a 50 million Ghana cedis bail with 2 sureties to be justified, a decision that sparked outrage within the NPP leadership.
And I believe that this was just set to prevent his timely release.
They claim they couldn't bring him. Here.
2 days later, his legal team scrambled to meet the stringent bail conditions.
We have been able to provide the sureties. That one I can assure you.
But there was a twist. A fresh court application filed by the NPP itself seeking to vary the terms of the bail. That stalled his release once again.
He encountered a challenge. The challenge that needs to be addressed before we can go forward.
By Monday, tension had reached a boiling point. Supporters of the Ashanti Regional Chairman besieged the Iyoko headquarters in Accra, demanding his immediate release.
That is what we are going to do. Demonstrations.
This is the tip of the iceberg. They've not seen anything yet.
Eventually, the bail documentation was verified. The court challenge was withdrawn.
We just finished the inspection of the property, so we just have to come, they check the values, and then we're good to go.
But even after 7 hours of growing agitation, tempers flared. The crowd outside Iyoko grew louder, more relentless. Then came the moment many had been waiting for. Chairman Wontumi walked free.
Wontumi is out. I mean, it's a legal process. He got bail and he's on his way home.
But his troubles may be far from over. Iyoko's investigation is still active, and a fresh docket has reportedly been opened by the Financial Intelligence Center. For Joy News, Faustina Safu.
Well, let's talk presidential royalty, if I may call it that. And President John Dramani Mahama has opened up about his decades-old personal relationship with the Asantehene Otumfuo II, recalling cherished childhood memories that date back to their early years in Osu. Speaking during a courtesy visit by the Asantehene to the Jubilee House, he reminisced on the times he used to buy iced cream for the Otumfuo and his friends many years ago. Now, beyond the childhood memories, the president also revealed that at a time when he had made up his mind to quit politics, it was Otumfuo II who played a pivotal role in convincing him to reconsider and accept to be running mate to Professor John Evans at Mills. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Akpokpa now reports from the Jubilee House.
Politics, as in life, some relationships go beyond official titles and formal handshakes. And in the case of President John Mahama and the Asantehene Otumfuo II, it is built in childhood memories and life-changing decisions. It was during a courtesy call to the Jubilee House that President Mahama offered a rare personal glimpse into his decade-old friendship with the Asantehene.
Little boy growing up in Ringway Estate, Osu. And my father's house was directly opposite Nana Eduhene's house. And so Nana Eduhene's children, Kojobo Chio, Kwame Nkrumah, and all of them were our friends. And Nana Eduhene's nephews that he was bringing up were Atua Hoy and Kwamna Hoy and all of them. And so they used to come on holidays from school and spend holidays there. And then there was another of Nana's children who used to come and spend holidays. We used to call him Kweku Kweku. It turned out to be they were slightly older than us. We were younger. And so they used to send us to buy ice cream and all kinds of things for them. And he used to come during vacations. So later, when I became a minister and we were installing the next Otumfo after Opokuwari died, they installed Nana Osei-Tutu II. I said, but this is Eduhene, Oye Sefini, Oye Denkoye. Oye Denkoye Asantehene, Sefi 40 midi Asante Akunyanana. Then Nana told me a story, and then it fitted the jigsaw puzzle together. Apparently, his uncle sent him to Nana Eduhene's palace to be groomed as a king. And that's why he used to come to Ringwe on holiday, because Nana Eduhene was the one who was looking after him. So our relationship goes back to when I was a child.
President Mahama says that at a time when he had decided to walk away from politics entirely, it was Otumfo who stepped in, who spoke to him, guided him, and convinced him to accept the offer to become Professor Atta Mills' running mate.
A special one. The first time, Professor Mills sent Bafo Boni of blessed memory and a team to come and tell me that he wanted me to be his running mate. And at that time, I had made my plans to leave politics. So my response was, no, I won't do it. So later he sent Ato Ahoy and Totobi Kwachi and Kwamina to come and ask me to accept to be his running mate. Again, I said no. And so one day I was in Accra, I got a call. He says, Otumfo wants you in my share. Who am I to refuse? So I got up and went. And when I went, I said, hey, when you say, Professor Mills say, but yeah, nabe de chain, nabe de vice president, I will say there be. Hey, oh boy. He says, when your country calls you, you can't refuse.
Well, now the Health Ministry has asked the police and national security to provide protection for nursing groups willing to work as the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association begins its nationwide strike demanding implementation of better conditions of service. Now, according to the GRNMA, government has reneged on its promise to implement a collective bargaining agreement signed last year, hence that action. Hannah Odame visited some health facilities and came through with this report.
The nurses are demanding, among others, a 10% Medicare, a new rate for uniform allowance, payment of their 13th salary, and revised rate on call allowance. Some of the nurses who spoke to Joy News off camera at the Adabraka Hospital say they want full implementation of these agreements. At the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, lots of the nurses seen had a strip of the red fabric tied to their wrist. The principal nursing officer, Rejoice Mispa Anaman, expressed displeasure the government has implemented agreements of other health bodies, but has refused to do so for them.
What we are simply telling the government is that we are not happy about what is going on with our profession. We are not happy. We want the signed collective agreement between government and our association implemented. That is what we are asking government to do. Other bodies' agreements have been implemented and they are enjoying it. So we are also telling government to implement what is due us. So this goes to all citizens of Ghana. We are pleading with you. We know some of you are in good positions to push for government to do what is due us. So we are asking you to talk to government to implement what is due us so that we continue working.
At the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, though most of the nurses seen were not in red armed bands, some nurses who spoke off camera pledged to fully abide by every directive given by their executives.
2 years ago, our condition of service was supposed to be implemented, but for some reasons, it was held back. Though we had internal issues as well, the ministries also said there wasn't enough funds to implement it. But it's been 2 years down the line and we see nothing going on, no changes. So we are trying to remind the government and its ministry that our condition of service needs to be implemented.
According to the association, all dialogue efforts have been exhausted, leaving them with no option but to withdraw their services through this series of actions. On Monday, it was the wearing of red bands. If this action yields no response from government, they will proceed to withdraw OPD services on Wednesday. For Joy News, I am Hannah Odame.
Now, in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, Clinton Yeboah reports of compliance to the directive as nurses and midwives were seen clad in red bands. But the GRNMA is accusing the health ministry of internal sabotage in respect of their industrial action.
The conditions of service was agreed to ensure the welfare of nurses and midwives. And a year after the agreement was made in 2024, implementation has seen some delays, and it is at the back of this that the association is embarking on a roadmap geared towards a strike action. Today, at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, nurses and midwives are in red banner in protest of the delays. I spoke to the first regional chairman of the association, Afenyo-Markin Brempong, however, suspects an internal sabotage of their planned strike. Do you suspect any internal sabotage?
Sure, we are seeing that. You know, the labor law permits freedom of association, and we are having about 5 splinter groups. And the ministry is relying on these people. We don't know what has transpired between them, but from where I'm sitting, I can see that some people might have taken some bribe or taken money. That's why they are sabotaging us. Because what we are fighting for all nurses and midwives in this country. So if these unions are interested in the welfare of their members, why are not joining the strike? Because what we are fighting for is rural incentive allowance. Do they have their members in the rural areas? We are talking about 5% on-call facilitation. Are they having their members who will be on call? These are things that is very, very important. The uniform allowance, they are included in this. So why are they backtracking from the strike action? If they are not taking anything from them, are they in bed with the government? These are questions that we can pose, and they have to come out and answer. Why are they against the welfare of nurses and midwives in this country? It's something that I can't understand.
Afenyo-Markin Brempong also says that the association is disappointed in how government is handling this situation. He's therefore admonishing all nurses and midwives to be totally involved in a strike action.
The ministry is not showing any good faith in addressing our issue. He is admonishing the splinter groups to embark on the strike. They are relying on them to
Well, let's stay on health as Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Jehoshaphat Inamwine Nyuzagi, has expressed concern over the continued refusal of critical medical personnel such as nurses and midwives to accept postings to the region, particularly to deprived areas. He noted that the situation not only severely depleted the staff levels, but also increased the workload on the few nurses and midwives who accepted postings to the region. Doc made the statement at the climax of the 2025 Nurses and Midwives Week celebration held in the Wa municipality of the Upper West region. There's more in this report.
Addressing nurses and midwives crammed at the Upper West Regional Secretariat of Nurses and Midwives, Associate Professor of Health Economics at AZD University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, Professor William Anku, highlighted the critical role nurses and midwives play in Ghana's healthcare system and beyond.
Nurses and midwives are the most resilient people, the most compassionate people, and the most skilled professionals, more than the medical doctors. Because at the work, it's the nurses we see.
The event also featured an address by Upper West Regional Minister Charles Wonga Pozung, who reaffirmed the government's commitment to improving the welfare of nurses and midwives through better postings, remuneration, and working conditions.
The NDC outlines bold, transformative policies aimed at revitalizing the health sector. They include restoration of automatic posting and timely financial clearance for qualified nurses and midwives to eliminate the current backlog and frustrations among newly trained professionals. Payment of all outstanding arrears and allowances, particularly for rotation nurses, midwives, and trainee nurses. Improved remuneration and working conditions through structured negotiations and institutional reforms.
The issue of low number of nurses and midwives in the region for the umpteenth time was on the front burner, according to the Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Josephat Anna Engman Nozagli. He expressed concern over the difficulty in attracting nurses and midwives to the region.
It is no secret that the Upper West region, regrettably, remains unattractive to many nurses and midwives, leading to a substantial number of, nurses and midwives refusing postings to the region. This creates a severe rippling effect, which directly impacts on our staffing levels.
The ceremony concluded with awards for outstanding professionals, with Yahya Salamatu from Wa East named Regional Best Midwife, and Florence Dramani from Jiriba Municipal receiving the overall Best Regional Nurse Midwife Award. Reporting for Dway News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Well, from WA, let's head right into business, and we'll start with our currency market for today. Well, let's get into the stories now. And Fitch Solutions has revised its end-of-year forecast of the cedi to dollar rate at 13 cedis from its previous projection of 15 cedis and 50 pesos to one American greenback. It is also forecasting a 12.9% appreciation against the American dollar in 2025. There's more in this report.
According to the US-based firm, its assumption is based on the local currency appreciating by 16% between late April 2025 and the middle of May 2025. This is on the back of higher gold prices. The cedi has appreciated by 16% between late April and the middle of May on the back of higher gold prices, resulting in Fitch Solutions country risk team revising down their end 2025 forecast for the Ghanaian cedi to 13 Ghana cedis to the dollar from the previous projection of 15 cedis 50 pesos to the dollar. Fitch Solutions now forecast that the currency will strengthen by 12.9% over 2025 from 14 cedis 70 pesos to the dollar at the end of 2024. It continued that the stronger cedi will create room for the Bank of Ghana to pivot back to monetary easing. It said, as Ghana is a net importer of key consumer goods including cereals, pharmaceuticals and plastics, a stronger exchange rate will have a disinflationary effect. Fitch Solutions added that it expects the Bank of Ghana to cut the policy rate by a cumulative 200 basis points in the second half of 2025, ending the year at 26.0%.
Now, economist William Savary is urging the government to create a more conducive ecosystem to boost revenue from the tourism sector. In an interview with Joy Business, he emphasized the need to capitalize on available household spaces by developing a structured program that allows tourists to lodge with local residents. According to him, such an initiative could generate significant national revenue while providing additional income for households across the country.
You take somebody who has a house with 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms, it's just a husband and a wife. Now, if you assume that in your 1 bedroom, the person can rent the house for $100 a night and turn 1 room into a bed and breakfast. The person comes, you provide them with a place to sleep, you give them breakfast, and you charge $100. If that room is occupied for 15 days out of the month, that's $1,500. That's $18,000 a year. If the person has 2 rooms, that's $36,000 a year. What's the average salary in Ghana? So that means with 1 room, with proper marketing for tourism, and proper environment, creating the ecosystem, not only do you increase the revenue in the treasury, but you also increase revenues of individual Ghanaians who would want to be part of the ecosystem the government wants to put together. But again, that requires thinking, requires planning, requires people, requires monitoring and evaluation, requires a lot of elements that comes into play. But creating the ecosystem for people to prosper is the key, is really the point of departure. That's how I will address it. Now, because there is no way in the world that you're going to have the fund required to build 10,000 an additional 5,000 hotel rooms within the next 4 or 5 years or 3 years, unless you have foreign capital come. But you already have the 5,000. You have what, according to our calculation, about 6 million households we said earlier, right? Well, you can 5. You can pretty.
And from there, let's zoom into our commodities market to check out what some of the major commodities are trading for. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for staying with me through the news. But up next, we serve you sports. Muftar Nabil Abdullah will be telling you about the Ghana Football Awards and a lot more. You want to stay for that.